Narcissistic leaders, how to play them like a fiddle and beat them at their own game. Ever felt like you're trapped in a game where someone else writes the rules? What if I told you that you could not only break free, but also turn the tables on those toxic narcissistic leaders? Today, we're diving deep into the world of narcissistic leadership, a realm where charm masks manipulation and ego overshadows empathy. In the next 20 minutes, you'll learn how these leaders operate, the tricks they use, and most importantly, how you can outsmart them at their own game. Stick with me as I share real-life stories, simple strategies, and a few surprising insights that will empower you to reclaim your space and your voice. The anatomy of a narcissistic leader. Let's start by breaking down what a narcissistic leader really is. Imagine someone who craves admiration, twists every situation to serve their ego, and leaves a trail of confusion in their wake. They often seem magnetic at first, drawing you in with confidence and grand promises. But underneath that charming exterior, there's a dangerous cocktail of self-absorption, manipulation, and sometimes even outright deceit. Think of them as a magician who dazzles you with a trick, only to reveal that the secret is not magic at all, but careful misdirection. Their skills in twisting reality can leave you questioning your own sanity, but once you know the playbook, you'll be one step ahead. How narcissistic leaders control the game. Let's dig into the mechanics of their game. Narcissistic leaders know exactly how to manipulate every conversation and meeting to make themselves look good. They thrive in environments where they can control narratives and decisions. Here's how they do it. The charm offensive. Right off the bat, they charm you. They say all the right things, compliment you, and make you feel like you're a crucial part of their grand vision. This tactic lulls you into a false sense of security. It's like being handed a slice of cake that looks delicious, but you don't know that it's been laced with something that dulls your senses. Tactics include flattery. You're one of the smartest people here. I need your help on this project. Personal connections. They share personal stories or feigned vulnerabilities to seem relatable. Generous promises. I'm going to make sure you get all the recognition you deserve. The shift to control. Once you're hooked, the narrative quickly shifts. The same leader who once praised you now uses every conversation as an opportunity to assert dominance. They twist compliments into subtle put-downs if you don't play by their rules. Examples in action. In meetings, they steer the conversation to focus on their ideas and dismiss alternative viewpoints. When mistakes happen, they turn around and blame you or someone else, deflecting any criticism away from themselves. They create a culture of fear where questioning their authority is seen as insubordination. Real-life anecdote, the office puppet show. Let me share a story. A friend of mine once worked in an office where the CEO was the epitome of narcissistic leadership. At first, everyone was charmed by his grand visions and smooth talk. He'd walk around the office, patting people on the back and promising that they were part of something amazing. But soon enough, his true colors emerged. During a critical project, he publicly took credit for the team's work while blaming minor issues on his staff. Meetings turned into one-man shows, where his ideas were the only ones allowed. Anyone who dared offer a different opinion was quickly shut down with a sarcastic remark or a condescending smile. It wasn't long before the entire team felt like puppets on strings, dancing to his tune even as they struggled to get their own ideas heard. The challenge facing the narcissistic leader. Now that we know what these leaders are all about, let's address the elephant in the room. How do you deal with someone who seems untouchable? It feels like you're David against Goliath, where every step you take is meticulously watched and countered. But here's the secret. You can learn to navigate this minefield and even use their tactics against them. Recognizing the warning signs. Before you can beat them, you need to spot them. Here are some red flags. Constant need for praise. They'll fish for compliments and get visibly upset if they don't get the adoration they expect. Deflection and blame. They rarely admit mistakes. Instead, they shift the blame onto others. Isolation tactics. They'll try to pit team members against each other to keep you from forming strong alliances. Excessive control. They micromanage every detail and dismiss any input that doesn't align with their vision. The problem at its core. The biggest challenge isn't just dealing with their behavior. It's understanding that their tactics are designed to break your spirit and maintain their own power. When you're caught in their web, it's easy to start doubting your own ideas and abilities. Over time, you might even internalize their negative messages. This isn't just about one person's ego. It's a systemic issue that can poison an entire workplace or community. Psychological impact. Lowered self-esteem. Constant criticism and manipulation can chip away at your confidence. Confusion and self-doubt. Their gaslighting tactics can make you question your own memory and judgment. Stress and anxiety. The unpredictability of their behavior creates a tense environment that can be emotionally draining. Imagine feeling like every decision you make is wrong, even when you know deep down it isn't. That's the kind of pressure these leaders create, a pressure that can lead to burnout and a sense of helplessness. Strategies to outsmart and overcome. All right, now let's get into the good stuff, how to turn the tables. This isn't about becoming a manipulative leader yourself. It's about protecting your well-being and ensuring that your voice is heard. Here are some strategies that work. Know your facts. Knowledge is power. Before you even engage, do your homework. Understand the projects, the policies, and the true data behind any claims. Narcissistic leaders often rely on bending facts to suit their narrative. Arm yourself with real information so you can question any inconsistencies. Steps to take. Document everything. Keep a record of meetings, emails, and decisions. When their memory becomes unreliable, your documentation will be your best ally. Research thoroughly. If they claim a certain strategy is the best approach, find credible sources that either back it up or provide alternative views. Stay updated. Keep an eye on any changes in policies or project directions. Being informed will help you spot when things are being twisted. Harness your emotional intelligence. When dealing with a narcissistic leader, staying cool under pressure is key. They thrive on provoking an emotional response. Instead, cultivate a sense of calm and empathy, both for yourself and even for them, in a way that helps you manage interactions effectively. Tips to maintain your cool. Pause before reacting. When you feel a surge of anger or frustration, take a moment to breathe. A short pause can prevent you from saying something you might regret. Separate facts from feelings. Focus on what was said, not how it made you feel. Emotions can cloud the reality of the situation. Practice empathy with boundaries. Understand that their behavior is a reflection of their inner issues, not your worth. This doesn't mean excusing their actions. It means recognizing the pattern so you can respond more objectively. Turn their tactics against them. This is where the real game begins. Narcissistic leaders are so addicted to their own image that they can be tricked into reinforcing it. Ironically, by challenging them in the right way. Here's how. Mirror their behavior. Without stooping to their level, use reflective questions to make them confront their inconsistencies. For example, if they blame a team member for a mistake, ask, "What would you have done differently if you were in that situation?" This forces them to think critically about their own actions. Leverage their need for validation. Frame your feedback in a way that appeals to their ego while still presenting your facts. You might say, "I know you value excellence, and I think if we adjust this detail, it could make your idea even stronger." It's a subtle way to point out flaws without triggering a defensive backlash. Stay public and accountable. Whenever possible, communicate in group settings or via written channels. Public accountability can limit their ability to manipulate narratives behind closed doors. Build a support network. No one should have to fight this battle alone. Seek out colleagues or allies who understand what you're going through. There's strength in numbers, and when multiple voices demand fairness, the narcissistic leader's power diminishes. Steps to build support. Find a trusted confidant. This could be a coworker, mentor, or even someone from another department who has witnessed similar behavior. Share your documentation. By comparing notes, you can build a clear picture of the recurring patterns. This collective evidence can be crucial if you ever need to escalate the issue. Establish clear boundaries. Work together to set limits on acceptable behavior. Sometimes, even a united front can force a narcissistic leader to rethink their approach. A step-by-step scenario. Let's walk through a hypothetical situation. Imagine you're in a meeting where your narcissistic boss is about to take all the credit for a project you've been working on. Here's what you could do. Step 1. Before the meeting, gather all your emails, notes, and documents related to the project. Make sure you have a clear record of your contributions. Step 2. During the meeting, when the boss starts boasting about the project, calmly interject with, "I'd like to add that the data we collected in the last quarter, which I've been working on, also played a key role in achieving these results." Step 3. If they try to brush you off, follow up with, "Based on the reports from our last team meeting, it seems clear that collaboration was essential here. Can we review the contributions of each department to ensure everyone's efforts are recognized?" Step 4. Keep your tone neutral and factual. Avoid getting drawn into a personal confrontation. The goal is to assert your role without triggering their defensive tactics. Step 5. After the meeting, send a follow-up email summarizing the discussion and your contributions. This not only reinforces your position, but also creates a paper trail that can be referenced later if needed. This approach not only reinforces your credibility, but also subtly reminds everyone in the room that success is a team effort, not just the product of one person's ego. The turning point: gaining control. At some point, you may reach a moment where you feel the scales are finally tipping in your favor. This is the climax of our journey. The moment when you realize that by understanding their game, you've learned to navigate it with confidence and purpose. The moment of clarity. It's like watching a suspenseful movie where the hero finally sees the villain's weakness. One day, after weeks of carefully applying these strategies, you start noticing that the narcissistic leader's hold is slipping. The compliments turn hollow, the manipulations become more transparent, and even their closest allies begin to see the cracks in their facade. Signs you're winning. Increased group dialogue. More people start speaking up in meetings, and decisions become more collaborative. Shift in narrative. Your documented evidence and calm, factual corrections begin to be acknowledged by other team members. Reduced fear. You no longer feel as anxious about voicing your ideas. The air in the room is lighter, and there's a newfound sense of empowerment among your colleagues. Embracing your inner strategist. At this key moment, you need to fully embrace your role as the strategist in this game. Instead of playing reactively, you start thinking several moves ahead, much like a chess master. Every interaction becomes an opportunity, a chance to either reinforce positive behavior or gently expose the leader's flaws. Practical mindset shifts. See the bigger picture. Recognize that your actions, even small ones, contribute to a larger shift in the workplace culture. Stay consistent. Consistency is key. Every time you calmly correct misinformation or share your facts, you chip away at their control. Celebrate small wins. Whether it's a successful meeting or a moment when a colleague openly thanks you for your input, acknowledge these victories. They're the stepping stones to a more open, balanced environment. An anecdote of triumph. I once heard of a manager who worked under a notoriously narcissistic director. Initially, every meeting felt like a battleground, with the director dismissing everyone else's ideas. Over time, however, this manager started quietly documenting every discussion and gently steering conversations back to the data. One day, during a critical presentation, the director made an outrageous claim that was immediately contradicted by the documented facts. Instead of reacting emotionally, the manager calmly presented the data, and soon, even the director's staunchest supporters began questioning the narrative. That moment wasn't a dramatic showdown with raised voices. It was a quiet, effective demonstration of how facts and calm persistence can outshine bluster. The long-term game, sustaining your success. Even after you've managed to expose and counteract the narcissistic behavior, the game isn't over. These leaders rarely change overnight, and their influence can be like a stubborn weed in the garden of your organization. Here's how to sustain your hard-won ground over the long term. Building an environment of accountability. One of the most effective ways to combat narcissistic leadership is to create a culture that values transparency and accountability. This means establishing systems where decisions are made collectively and everyone's input is valued. Steps to create a healthy culture. Implement regular reviews. Regular performance reviews and team debriefs can help ensure that no single person's voice dominates. Encourage open dialogue. Create safe spaces for team members to share feedback without fear of retribution. When everyone feels heard, manipulation becomes much harder. Document decisions. Make it a habit to summarize meetings in writing, outlining who contributed what. This not only clarifies roles, but also serves as a reference for future discussions. Taking care of yourself. When you're constantly dealing with a toxic personality, it's easy to forget your own well-being. Self-care isn't just a buzzword, it's essential. By taking care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle the pressures and stay resilient. Self-care strategies. Set clear boundaries. Know your limits and don't be afraid to say no when the pressure becomes too intense. Practice stress relief techniques. Whether it's a short walk, a few deep breaths, or a few minutes of meditation, find what works for you and use it regularly. Seek support. Sometimes talking to someone outside of the situation, be it a friend, a mentor, or even a professional, can offer a fresh perspective and a needed emotional boost. Learning and growing. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Each encounter with a narcissistic leader teaches you more about human behavior, about strategy, and about your own inner strength. Reflect on what works, and don't be afraid to adjust your tactics as you gain more experience. Continuous improvement tips. Review your interactions. After meetings or critical interactions, take a few minutes to jot down what happened and how you responded. What worked well, what could be improved? Stay curious, read up on psychology and leadership. Understanding more about narcissism can give you new ideas for handling it. Celebrate growth. Every time you handle a tricky situation with calm and clarity, acknowledge that progress. It reinforces positive behavior and builds your confidence over time. Bringing it all together. So, where do we stand after this journey through the maze of narcissistic leadership? We've uncovered how these leaders use charm and manipulation to control narratives. We've seen the damage they can do, not just to projects, but to people's confidence and morale. And most importantly, we've learned that with the right strategies, you can turn their tactics against them, reclaim your power, and build a healthier, more collaborative environment. Key takeaways. Understanding is power. Knowing the traits and tactics of narcissistic leaders is the first step toward neutralizing their influence. Documentation is your ally. Keeping clear records can protect you from false narratives and provide the evidence needed to call out manipulation. Emotional intelligence wins. Staying calm, collecting your thoughts, and responding with empathy without being overly soft can diffuse even the most tense interactions. Build a network. No one should face this battle alone. Long-term change is possible. By fostering accountability and open dialogue, you can slowly shift the culture away from one person's toxic influence. A story to remember. I want to leave you with one final story. A reminder that change, though sometimes slow, is always possible. In one company, a mid-level manager faced a director whose narcissism was legendary. Initially, the manager felt small and powerless, constantly walking on eggshells. But by quietly implementing the strategies we've talked about, documenting every meeting, gently correcting misinformation, and gradually building a network of like-minded colleagues, the manager transformed the atmosphere in the team. Meetings became more balanced, decisions were made collectively, and the director's power gradually diminished. What once seemed like an insurmountable mountain turned into a series of small hills that the entire team could overcome together. The final play, your moment of triumph. Now imagine yourself in that manager's shoes. The next time you step into a meeting or find yourself facing off against a narcissistic leader, remember this. You have the power to change the game. Every bit of research you do, every calm response you offer, and every ally you gain adds up to a strategy that can outsmart even the most overbearing personality. Remember, facts over flattery. When they try to drown you in compliments to get you off balance, let your evidence shine through. Calm over chaos. Even when the situation feels like it's spiraling, a composed mind is the best tool you have. Team over tyrant. Your strength multiplies when you build a community that values truth and fairness. Think of it like a game of chess. Every move you make is strategic. You're not trying to win every single battle by getting into a shouting match. Instead, you're positioning yourself so that when the big moment arrives, your moves are so precise that your opponent is left with no answer. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. A glimpse into the future. As you start to apply these strategies, you might notice subtle changes in your environment. The narcissistic leader's tricks will become less effective over time. Other team members might start feeling more confident, and even higher-ups could begin to notice the benefits of a more collaborative, transparent culture. Imagine this: a meeting where every voice is heard, where decisions are backed by data, and where leadership isn't about dominating but about guiding. A workplace where respect is mutual, and where even the most challenging personalities are met with calm, clear, and collective responses. A future where your work is recognized not just because of who you know, but because of the undeniable evidence of your contributions. It's not an overnight transformation, but every small win builds momentum. The tactics you learn today will not only help you deal with narcissistic leaders, but also prepare you to handle any situation where power is misused. Wrapping up, let's take a moment to recap. We started by understanding who narcissistic leaders are and the dangerous allure of their charm. We then explored how they manipulate situations to serve their own ends, using tactics like flattery, gaslighting, and isolation. From there, we uncovered practical strategies to protect yourself, gathering solid facts, documenting every step, and using your emotional intelligence to stay calm. We even talked about turning their tactics against them by using reflective questions, leveraging their need for validation, and building a supportive network that holds everyone accountable. Each of these steps is like a tool in your toolkit, a set of skills that, when combined, can help you reclaim your power in any environment. Whether it's a boardroom, a project meeting, or even just a day-to-day conversation, you now have the playbook to navigate, neutralize, and ultimately overcome the toxic influence of a narcissistic leader. Your next steps. It's time to put these ideas into practice. Think about your current environment. Is there someone whose behavior fits the pattern we discussed? Maybe it's subtle at first, small comments here and there, or moments when your ideas are brushed aside. Recognize those red flags and start using the strategies we talked about. Document what happens, speak up with the facts, and most importantly, remember that you're not alone. Action points. Start keeping a journal of your interactions. It doesn't have to be detailed, just enough so you remember key points. Have a quiet conversation with a trusted colleague. Share your observations and see if they've noticed the same patterns. Begin incorporating calm, factual responses in your next meeting. Even a single well-placed question can start to shift the dynamic. Every small action you take is a step towards building a healthier, more respectful environment. Over time, these changes add up, creating a ripple effect that can even influence higher levels of leadership. The heart of the matter. At its core, this isn't just about surviving a difficult leader. It's about thriving in an environment where every voice matters. You deserve to be in a space where ideas are celebrated, where success is shared, and where leadership is about collaboration rather than domination. By understanding the game that narcissistic leaders play, you empower yourself to rewrite the rules. Remember this: your value is not defined by their approval. No matter how much a narcissistic leader tries to diminish you, your skills and insights have real worth. You control your reaction. You can choose to react emotionally, or you can choose to respond with clear, measured facts. Together, we can change the culture. A single voice might be drowned out, but many voices combined can create a movement for change. Think of this as not just a personal journey, but a collective one. Every time someone stands up against toxic behavior, the whole system shifts a little bit more towards fairness and transparency. A few final words. I know that facing a narcissistic leader can feel like standing in the middle of a storm with no shelter. The wind may blow and the rain may pour, but every storm eventually passes. The strategies we talked about aren't magic bullets. They require practice, patience, and sometimes a little bit of courage. But trust me, every time you stand your ground and speak your truth, you're not only defending yourself, you're also paving the way for a better, more honest way of working together. Keep this in mind. Your voice matters. Facts are your friends. Staying calm is the ultimate power move. It might seem like a small battle today, but over time, these battles add up to a major victory. A victory for you and for every person who has ever felt overshadowed by someone else's ego. The call to action: if you found these insights helpful, hit subscribe and check out the next video for more strategies on taking control of your work life. In wrapping up this conversation, remember that beating narcissistic leaders isn't about getting into a personal war. It's about being smart, staying informed, and working together to create a space where everyone's contributions are valued. The road ahead might be challenging, but with these strategies, you're well on your way to turning the tables and making your mark in a way that's both powerful and fair. Take a deep breath, review your notes, and get ready to face your next challenge with confidence. Your journey toward a more balanced, respectful, and transparent environment starts today. And hey, if you ever feel overwhelmed, just think of this as your personal game plan, a blueprint to reclaiming control, one well-documented fact at a time. Thank you for sticking with me through this deep dive. Now go out there, apply these techniques, and show the world that you're not just a player in their game, you're the one calling the shots. Remember, every time you stand up to toxic behavior, you're not only protecting yourself, you're lighting the way for others who might be struggling in silence. Change starts with one brave voice, and that voice is yours. So next time you're in a meeting or even just in a casual conversation, remember, knowledge is power, calm is strength, and together we can outsmart even the most cunning narcissistic leader. Stay sharp, stay true, and keep pushing forward. If you're ready for more tips on navigating the tricky world of leadership and workplace dynamics, make sure to subscribe and check out the next video coming up on your screen now. Let's continue this journey together, one strategy at a time. This is more than just advice. It's a call to transform your everyday battles into victories that matter. Use what you've learned today to slowly, but surely dismantle the toxic power structures around you. In doing so, you not only empower yourself, but you also pave the way for a more honest and effective way of working where respect and truth take center stage. Every small victory counts. Every documented fact, every measured response, every supportive conversation is a brick in the foundation of a better, more balanced workplace culture. So take this script, apply it to your daily life, and watch as the dynamics slowly start to shift in your favor. Remember, you are not alone in this fight. There are many out there who are also ready to stand up, document, and push back against the toxic tide of narcissistic leadership. The more we share our stories and strategies, the stronger we become as a collective force for change. And if you ever need a reminder during those tough moments, come back here, revisit these tips, and know that you're equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Your perseverance, your smart tactics, and your commitment to truth are what will eventually turn the tide. Take heart and keep your eyes on the prize, a workplace where collaboration, accountability, and respect are more than just buzzwords. They're the reality we build every day, one brave move at a time. Now it's over to you. Think back on the challenges you faced and consider the strategies we've discussed today. What's one small step you can take tomorrow to document, question, or assert your ideas in a meeting? Every step, no matter how small, is a victory against the toxic dynamics that can drain your creativity and self-worth. Let this video be your roadmap to not just surviving, but thriving under challenging leadership. And remember, while narcissistic leaders may try to control the narrative, you have the power to write your own story, one where truth and teamwork triumph over ego and manipulation. If you're ready to level up your workplace game and outsmart even the most cunning narcissistic leader, hit that subscribe button and watch the next video. It's time to turn knowledge into action, and action into lasting change.